Hi, my name is Tarek Morshed with Morshed Group at Sothebys. We specialize in representing entrepreneurs and founders in residential real estate. Welcome to the Entrepreneurial Home Podcast. This podcast is where Austin's most successful men and women discuss their business journeys and the entrepreneurial home that empowers them to thrive in both business and in life. On today's episode, we have Brian Schoenbaum. Brian Schoenbaum is the founder and CEO of Vuka Collective. And a quick summary about Vuka Collective. Vuka Collective creates modern-day community hubs that foster connection and drive impact. They achieve this through their highly sought-after co-working communities, event venues, as well as their personal and professional development programs. And at Vuka Collective, they believe in the development of mindful communities that use business and profit to serve people and planet. Personally, I just also want to add, super excited to have you here. We've been friends for a long time, have grown through a lot personally, coached and mentored each other through a lot personally, as well as really in our business lives. It's been really awesome to see you evolve, both personally and professionally and in business, and all the work that you do around purpose, and it's just really inspiring stuff. So I'm excited for you to be here today.
It's a complete honor.
Absolutely. So we're going to just dive right in and go through some of our questions that we like to cover in these conversations with the idea of, hey, it's really here to empower entrepreneurs, founders, and anyone else looking to really get going in business or get involved in the business community here in Austin.
Thank you all for taking the time and having me on today. Hope you find value.
And so, good starter question. Tell us about your entrepreneurial journey.
Yeah. So, I know like we're keeping these relatively short. So my short version is, I think a lot of my journey has been about finding out how to weave purpose into making money and making a living. There was a certain part of my life where I really had a separation of, I make money over here and I kind of fulfill purpose and connectivity to community, volunteering. And so what a lot of it's been about for me is really how can I be a part of something and serve a larger community that is trying to make positive impact on the world. And so a little bit about my journey is I grew up in the restaurant industry and did that for a while. And then I got into sustainable building. So I started a design build company in Georgia. We had clients in Austin, Texas, Chicago, New York, San Francisco, and I studied abroad kind of in that background. But I won't go too deep into that unless you feel like we should pull any of those threads further at the moment.
I think it'd be great to actually add the University of Miami stints.
Oh, yeah. So I went to two schools, and one was in South Florida, Florida International, and then I went to University of Georgia and played football there.
Georgia, Miami, yeah.
Well, Miami was a great school. They got a good football program. I would not have minded at all being in the South Florida sun playing football. But I played at University of Georgia, had a neck injury, and then transferred to Florida International to study hospitality management to go back home and really get into the family business before moving here now 11 years ago.
Yeah, okay. So then what happened after that as far as, you started Vuka here, right? The connection between Florida, Austin, Vuka. Tell us about that real quick in terms of your entrepreneurial journey.
Yeah, so as I mentioned, I was doing different design projects. I started out in residential homes and we got into commercial properties.
Yeah.
And through that journey, I really, all along for the past 20 years, I've been a personal and professional development junkie. I like to surround myself with other people that are on the journey of growing themselves as well and being the best possible versions of each other. So with that being said, there's those two things. So there's hospitality, there's design, and there's this idea of connectivity more deeply to ourselves so that we can have the life that we want.
Yeah.
So with that, I was volunteering with a couple of nonprofits here, and we were looking for space. There was also a men's group I was in at that time. We were also looking for space. So I was driving around Austin looking for space to rent out for people to come together. And the more I looked, the harder time I found options that were possible or feasible to house these different communities. So very long story short is I was driving through the neighborhood one day and came upon this warehouse. It's a 14,000 square foot warehouse hidden in Bolden Creek neighborhood. And I just drove by it a number of days and I got really curious about what went on there. And long story short, the fourth day I was scoping the property out. The fences were locked all the other days. The fourth day there was a handwritten phone number on an Office Depot sign.
Huh.
And I said, okay, I get it, I'm listening, I will make the call. I had tea with the owner in the backyard, owner of the property at the time, and I talked to him about how my experience of Austin, South Austin was really underserved in community-minded spaces for people to come together.
Yeah.
And so, fast forward 2 cups of teas later under the live oak tree in the backyard there, which was absolutely beautiful, breathtaking. I was sitting with him, we were talking, and I said, look, I don't have a business plan. Here's my entrepreneurial background, here's what I've been able to achieve, and I feel like Austin could be really served in this way. He was in a pinch, and he needed to get somebody in the building in kind of in a quick manner. The previous folks had something happen, emergency, and they needed to basically shut the business down. So we went in and signed a lease and said, look, I can make you comfortable for a year, and I'll go figure out my business plan. Got 32 different community leaders together to talk about how we could use that facility to best serve the community.
Wow.
And that really birthed our business plan.
That's where Vuka started.
Yeah, we did a 4-hour design charrette where people went around to different stations, and that really kind of helped us shape the beginning stages of our business plan to launch the company.
Interesting. Yeah, and it's still there.
Yeah.
It's still there and still thriving. So what made you want, and you kind of touched on this a little bit, but what made you want to start or move your company in Austin?
So, it started here, and a lot of it for me was what Austin is. I feel like Austin is such a beautiful place to just come together and really understand yourself deeper. I feel like it's a very free place. It's a very open place. I think most Austinites could agree with that.
Yeah.
And so after being here for a year and a half, I think Austin kind of had its way with me.
Yeah.
And I don't think that I would have started this business somewhere else. I think what we have started is really representative of what the community was asking for and what the community wanted.
That makes a lot of sense.
So I don't pretend that I had some brilliant idea. I think that we just did a good enough job listening. And over the years, we've added layers to our business and different services along the way to answer the call of what we understand the community to be listening for.
Wow, so you guys really took a lot of your feedback from the community leaders, business owners, and really met the need, which is, in terms of the entrepreneurial journey, a pretty awesome way to build a business.
Exactly.
That's awesome. That's awesome. That's awesome. And I think the one thing I'd add to that is, I've always believed we have the most collaborative entrepreneurial community in or in the country, and maybe even in the world.
Totally.
I think it's pretty amazing that you guys are able to bring that together.
I'll say
leverage that.
I want to say one quick thing about that. I moved here from Atlanta, and it was the idea of kind of dog eat dog world in the community that I was plugged into in Atlanta.
Yeah.
And so literally I was here for 2 weeks, and people were like understanding what I was doing and saying, let me introduce you to X, Y, or Z that do the same thing. And those people were showing up literally to be collaborative and support me in being successful.
Yeah.
I think that's another thing, to your point, that is so unique about Austin that I did not believe it at first. But it's genuinely how people are here. It's how can we lift each other up and be successful.
Definitely.
So I just want to echo that.
Definitely. How has Austin's real estate market impacted your business? And I think this is a really relevant question for you guys, because you've got multiple locations now, and you've had to scale and really work within that.
Yeah. Well, I think the commercial real estate industry itself, and we're talking commercial, residential, all things, both sides are relevant for your audience, correct?
True. Yeah, definitely.
Well, I would say on the commercial side that it's been really interesting that this concept of coworking is really birthed in the U.S. over the past 10 years. So it's a new industry. So I think the way that the coworking industry itself is using real estate is really interesting, because while larger companies are becoming more and more distributed, there's more real estate, right? We're telling people to go work remote, and now we're coming back and using that same real estate. We're reusing it in a way that is meeting people's needs as it is today, as an industry, right?
Right.
So think about a large corporate being in the 13th, 14th, and 15th floor downtown. They end up saying, look, it costs us a lot less, and it's better for people's lifestyle to go work from home or go have a membership at a co-working space.
Right.
So it's completely like, it's this, what's happening right now in that specific part of our business is really been very interesting and fascinating. It's happened so quickly too. If you think about, you might know the numbers better than me, but I think it's over 2 million square feet of space in Austin is co-working space at this point.
Yeah, no, that's about right.
Or we're tracking for that.
Yeah. And over 60 co-working spaces.
And over 60 co-working spaces. So it's been really interesting to kind of see that, and then also understand what is not being served of those 60 brands. What can we be unique in, and hopefully each one of them can be unique in serving a specific arena of people.
That makes sense. Yeah, so what I'm hearing in your answer is that even with all this growth in office space being taken by so many companies, there's still a big demand for something outside of that.
Exactly.
And that's definitely helped you guys as a business, and including in your other locations and as you're scaling. And so you guys are really, even though the rates at those different and new locations are much more higher, for you guys, you're able to absorb it based on demand, and it's generally working.
It's generally working for us, and I think what happened was we happened upon, as I mentioned earlier, the location in the Bowling Creek neighborhood off of Monroe. But I think what it really showed us is that there's a lot of folks focusing on the downtown market, right? And for us, we are intentionally spreading out. We have a location that's 2.5 miles south of downtown. We have a location that's 6 miles north, and another location that's under construction just south of town as well, right?
That makes sense.
So really meeting the people where they're at to try to combat traffic and how much it costs to park downtown.
Got it. And just so our audience knows, what are the locations currently?
So we have our original location is in 78704.
Right.
So, Bowling Creek neighborhood. We have another location just off of North Lamar in 2222. And then our third location will be down at a development called The Yard, which is just south of 71 off of South Congress.
Yeah, great spot. Great spot, great food, and really cool things happening over there.
We enjoyed it.
Okay, great. Next question, how important is an entrepreneur's surrounding environment, whether it's their home or the co-work space that they're at or at the office? And I think this is a really relevant question to you since you're at the head of designing so much of this.
Yeah, I think that something that I think we often take for granted is this idea of our space impacts us. Whether we're conscious or subconsciously aware of it, when you walk in a room, remove the people, remove the music, there is an interaction and a relationship that we develop with space, right? So the efficiency, how much noise or distraction is happening in the space, not just from an auditory standpoint, but when you look around the room, when we think about the idea of essentialism, right? Are all the things in the room necessary and supportive for what I'm trying to do? And those things could also be creative outlets as well. They're not all just for efficiency, right? Because I think, right, we don't honor enough the creative aspects. Are there enough layers in this room to keep me intrigued?
Right.
Are there enough layers in this room to also have me feel like I can be in a relationship and want to get to know the space better? Right. And want to get to know myself better. So I think that there's some things that we do there that I really enjoy, and I really appreciate how much our team is fascinated with the hospitality of hosting people. And I think if we're working from home, we have that opportunity as well. How do we host ourselves?
Oh, wow.
Right? Do we have all the nutrients that we need in our daily practice, right? And am I going to take a walk? Sometimes for me, just going to have a call and going on a walk while I have that call, it just resets everything for me when I get back to my meetings or computer for emails or whatever. So, yeah.
That's awesome. I like that. Yeah, so you actually see your workspace and whether it's the office or at home or elsewhere, really kind of holistically within the space, outside the space, and really leverage and really set it up for success for yourself.
Yeah, and something we talk about with our event space, right, that we also host our programs in as well, is when people's living rooms aren't big enough to host their event or their happening or their engagement or their launch party, that we think of ourselves as being an extension of that.
That makes sense.
So the whole process for us is about hosting, and I think the more that we can, I don't think get really, it's an intimate process, right? We don't want people to feel uncomfortable coming into it, but when we're thinking about it, we want to go as far as we can to understand what their needs might be before they even think about it. It's one of the definitions of hospitality that I've heard over the years.
Nice. I like that. Okay, so what have you learned in your travels that impacts how you do business in Austin today? And you're someone who I consider pretty well traveled and really looked at a lot of different communities and situations.
Travel's very significantly impacted the direction of my life. I was with Habitat for Humanity in 2004 building homes there, and I didn't know very much anything about building homes. And the communities there, the communities that I met in Southeast Asia, I was there for 3.5 months, and the sense of community and what really brought community together was remarkable. We could talk about it for hours, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And I know we have limited time, but I will just say the idea of values-based actions and community and what that brings together.
Nice.
And how closely it brings people together, whether it's family or community or the larger community. I think it's really important to be thinking about what our values are and how those can be accentuated and celebrated in a way versus something we keep maybe a little bit more close to the vest. And
Wow. So that's what in your travels, you've seen kind of all these communities and the values in the communities, and you've taken that as a lesson and integrated that into your businesses.
Totally.
That's very cool.
And when you think
I
about
didn't know that. That's
when you
really
think
cool.
about essentialism, right? It's the
Yeah.
idea of you're stripping away the things that create noise
Right.
and that are distracting us. So
Yeah.
our devices and everything else, how do we go back to really connecting with people and not having it go through devices, but real human connection, sitting and having
That makes a lot
conversations.
of sense.
And so a lot of the folks I was around didn't have the distractions, therefore the relationships are so much stronger.
Wow, interesting.
So
Nice,
Yeah.
nice. And what are some of the organizations that you guys are involved in at Vuka or you personally within Austin? There's obviously so much of that here.
yeah, golly, that's really what gets us going, right? Like we have key impact measurements that we track. So one of the things that we do is we track how much of our services and products we can give back to the community. So if you think about the nonprofits in the community that need space but can't afford full rate event space to host a nonprofit fundraiser, we look at meeting them where they're at as much as possible and doing slide and scale, and then we track how much we've given back and how much money they've raised in the space as a result of. So that really motivates our team members in our community when we can talk about all the things that we're doing in the space, people that are able to pay full price and the big corporates that we work with, that we can also go in a way and kind of give back to the community.
Wow, nice.
So there's a lot there, and I know our whole team is super lit up. I mean, we get really excited about that on the co-working side and the event side,
Yes.
as well as scholarships for our personal and professional development programs.
Right, and so Vuka really has almost nodes within the umbrella of Vuka each space.
Exactly.
Right? You've got the co-working space, you've got the event space, then you've kind of got this whole component of nonprofits and working with them, and then also personal and professional development for the entrepreneurs running their businesses in your co-working space.
Exactly.
Nice, very nice. And I think you're also involved with EO locally, and what are some of those organizations?
Yeah, so we were talking about that, and that's one thing that I would say that in my journey that I really got a lot from is this idea of peer groups. So how can we can create groups on our own. There's also organizations like Entrepreneurs Organization that organize groups of people to rub elbows together and support each other.
Right.
So it's considered like a personal board of advisors that you get together,
Definitely.
and you're able to share on the journey and really support each other along the way. And I'm really humbled and excited to be joining the board for EO Austin.
Yeah.
This year, actually starting next month. And we just did an international summit in China that was amazing. There was 7,000 people there, I believe. It was a really big group, and it was amazing to have all these people that are chasing their dreams all together in one room, supporting each other and say, "Yep, we're on this together." So to get off the island of just being on your own and really find, I found a lot of value in just finding a group that you can come together with and rub elbows with and say, "Yeah, we're doing it for all the right reasons, and it's a little crazy at time." And to be able to have people you can lean back on that are also kind of going for it, I think is really helpful.
No, definitely, and EO locally is huge. I've been blessed to be part of EOA, the accelerator side of it, and it's made a huge difference in my business and as well as personally. So, awesome.
Yep.
Man, this has been so much fun. Anything you want to say? And actually, real quick, I do want to mention, what's the website people would go to just get all things Vuka real quick, just so our audience really is clear on that.
Thank you for asking. Yeah. It's Vuka Collective, VUKA Collective.com.
Awesome. Everybody, thanks for again joining us at the Entrepreneurial Home Podcast. Go to tarekmorshed.com for future podcasts as well as any past, and also you'll find all our social media handles there too. Have a great day.